Hello, the holiday season is upon us before you know it, and at Pemberton Hall we're celebrating as well. Here today I'm holding a conversation with Bill Wilson, longtime member and one of the founding members at Pemberton Hall Foundation, where we have fun the year round, but today in particular we're talking about our winter activities. How are you today, Bill?
I'm just fine.
Bill, what's the first exciting activity coming up to celebrate the holiday season?
Well, first, I guess we better tell everyone that's watching this that think that, these two people are dressed in 18th century clothing. These are not our daily clothing, folks. This is what we wear when we're doing interpretation at Pemberton Hall. So now we have your attention, we can proceed. And you ask what we're doing at Pemberton Hall.
Yeah, what are we doing in the month of December for the holiday?
Every year for the last, several years anyway, the last 10 years, we've done a wreath making workshop, and it's an attempt to revive, or at least teach how it was done. There were trainloads of wreaths that were carried out of the lower eastern shore from the end of the 19th century all the way up to World War II, I guess. Literally trainloads.
Where were they going?
Well, they were going to the markets in the north, large cities, and I guess south too, but in the north. And of course, when the railroads ceased, so did that. Transportation became easier by trucks and so forth. But literally, the farmers made these by the hundreds, and brokers bought them, would buy their whole production. The family would get together somewhere around November and start making these wreaths, and they would stack them in one of the rooms of their house with the windows open, fill a room with it. A broker would come in at a certain point and buy them to ship them out.
What did they look like, Bill?
Well, they were just generic wreaths at that point. They weren't the ones with that you see in Williamsburg and so forth. Actually, Williamsburg's wreaths are a 1930s invention. They're based on De La Roba decorations from the Renaissance, but they're not true colonial wreaths. In fact, they did not make wreaths in the 18th century for decoration for Christmas.
See.
But so it's a custom here on the Eastern Shore to produce these. They stopped making them when the trains stopped running and so forth. And particularly during the Depression, this was a way to put food on the table.
Kind of a lifesaver, huh?
Yeah, it was a lifesaver, and it was a way to earn money for Christmas.
Yeah.
So we're reviving that tradition, and we're teaching it at Pemberton on December 5th. From 10 till 2, the last seating, I guess that's the best way to put it, will be at 2 o'clock. It actually takes about an hour and a half, thereabouts, to produce one. We'll teach you how to do it, and we'll provide the materials. And this year we're going to also, the Pemberton Foundation is also going to have fruits and so forth available for you to attach to them. So we're going to teach you how to do a Williamsburg version of the 18th century wreaths for your decorations for Christmas. The price is, or the cost is, $10 a person, and then for any decoration.
Is that per wreath, Bill, or
that's per wreath?
I see.
And if you have made these in the past, and we've had people all 10 years come back. Bring the background that you made last year. We tell you to save them each year. I hope you have.
You're talking about that vine?
Yes, it's a grapevine backing, which is how these were done on the Eastern Shore. They were done with all natural materials and done with a grapevine backing, wild grapevine usually. And we're going to supply all that. But it will save you time and energy and so forth. That's the part that we always run out of. If you have that, bring it back next year. I have some, for example, that I've used for many, many years.
Yeah, well, they are beautiful. Coming from the Midwest, I couldn't imagine any other sort of wreath than something that was made out of pine boughs. A Scotch pine, a yellow pine, a white pine, a blue spruce. We thought we really had a corner on the market with all of that. But once I attended one of these wreath-making parties, and it is a festive occasion,
Yes, it
I
is.
have to say that it's more than just making the wreath. I was just awestruck. I truly was. Beautiful wreaths that incorporate magnolia leaves and blossoms here, and all kinds of things that grow naturally here on the Eastern Shore. Just beautiful. And then, as you say, well, they could be considered edible by some of us because they are garnish, so to speak, or added decorations made up of different kinds of fruit arrangements and all of that. There are some artistic principles and maybe cultural principles behind the design of these wreaths, and it has to do with the number 3.
Yes, and that's probably true in any decorative form. The use of 3, balance, symmetry with something at the center, or in 3. You never do it in 4. You always do it in 3. 2s don't work either. So using 3 objects or whatever it is on your wreath makes it balance better. And
So-
you were talking about materials, and that's very interesting. We had not talked about that before, but the use of materials from the north are different than what you would use in the south. In
Very
part
much.
of the south. Here on the Eastern Shore, they were done with holly, and they were done with holly and with red cedar. And those wreaths that I was talking about earlier that were shipped out of here by the carload by train were that's how they were produced. They were with holly and red cedar, and backing that was all of it was gathered from the woods. The only thing that they had to have, the only thing that they attached to them, were berries, not natural berries, but usually produced plaster berries, and the wire. And they had to supply the wire, and the wire was also something that was, cost them to be able to do.
Sure.
Now, by the way, they were paid about 5 cents a wreath to
Wow.
produce these.
Well, but 5 cents went a little bit
Oh, it
further
was
than
a
too.
little bit further. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Well, and I think of the different traditions across the country. I remember paying dearly while I lived in Minnesota for a box of holly.
That's true.
And you went to your local florist to get that because it doesn't grow naturally here. Well, imagine my surprise when I came to the Eastern Shore and it just kind of grows wild all over and all kinds of different varieties of holly that can be used. The other thing, speaking of things that naturally grow here and might not elsewhere, is the mistletoe.
That's true.
And in my first year here, another admission, in my first year I hit every florist in the area looking for mistletoe and finally asked, why don't you carry mistletoe? And they started to laugh and informed me that it grows wild here, and didn't I happen to notice it? Well, I had no idea where it grew or how it grew, so they told me about it hanging in the tops of trees, and sure enough, now I could spot it, and I pointed out to other people, but that was, we paid dearly for little tiny bunches of mistletoe that we tie up in red ribbon and decorate our houses.
We'd love to
with.
have some out there. The traditional way of getting that on the Eastern Shore, I guess probably anywhere it grows, is shooting it out of a tree.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, whether this was myth, science, or fact, and
No,
I guess you
actually,
answered the question.
When I was a teenager or whatever else, that was something you did.
Yeah.
And my daughter will tell you also about experiences out in the boat collecting mistletoe from low-hanging limbs. And so you did both. And all of that is, the collecting of the materials, and the public doesn't have access to this, but there are a group of us, including yourself, that go out and collect these materials for this. And they're not from Pemberton Park. We have another source for them. And we'll spend all day earlier that week going out when it's cold and whatever else. And that is just sheer pleasure.
So
to be able
these
to do it.
greens are fresh.
These are about as fresh. We'll collect them on the Thursday before the Saturday that we're going to do this workshop.
Well, that then explains why the wreath that I make each year under your tutelage ends up hanging on my door until actually until Easter, even if it's a late Easter, because the greens are still beautiful, and I just remove the red ribbon off of it.
And they will stay. They're collected after the sap has stopped running, and you know, they stay out. They stay outdoors until we're producing the wreaths, and then they're put outdoors right away. Sometimes when you have them in the house, in superheated houses that we have, they'll last several, 2 or 3 weeks. But beyond that, but ours, I'm like you. Ours stay up for a couple months.
It's just too pretty to hide it in the house, so I proudly display it on my front door. And people think that I've gone all the way to Williamsburg to get this classic wreath, but
those wreaths are $75.
Yeah.
And so what you're going to produce is exactly the same thing. The difference is, however, ours have the grapevine backing, and they're using metal hoops.
Oh, I see.
Which were, of course, not available at that point.
Yeah.
So, and I want to stress that what we're producing, what we're going to show you how to do, and we're going to teach you how to do this, so that every year from this point on, you can do this yourself.
So, Bill, how do I sign up? Tell me again when it takes place, and the hours and the cost.
Okay, it is going to be Saturday, December 5th.
Okay.
From 10 until 2. The last group we'll take is at 2. It usually takes until 3:30 or so for them to finish. It will be at Pemberton Historical Park. It is sponsored by the Pemberton Hall Foundation. We are sharing this experience and proceeds with Westside Historical Society. So they're helping us along with it, or we're working with them as well. And it's going to be an opportunity for you to learn how to make your own wreaths, so that you don't have to pay exorbitant places from this point on, and also be able to do have this as a tradition within your family. It is an opportunity for you to learn and have a lot of fun along with it. And by the way, we'll have malt cider there that day, and we have just a really great time doing this. This is not something that's intense. It's something anyone can learn how to do.
Very relaxed.
It is very relaxed, and it's just a lot of fun. We also have homemade candles for you available this year to be able to do. So it is in the Educational Center at Pemberton Historical Park. Again, it is from 10 until 2. You can phone Pemberton Hall, which is 410-742-1741. You can leave your name there. We would really prefer, if you can do it, to let us know that you're coming and what time you're going to be there, so that we make sure that we have space. We can do about 10 people at a time. It takes a large room to do 10 people doing this.
But as they cycle through, and if we know in advance when they're coming, we can advise them, well, we're pretty full at 10 o'clock, but if you could come at 11 or 12, there would be more room for you.
Or, if you get there, for example, and you may have to wait
a little bit
to be able to do it. We certainly wouldn't want you to have to do that for very long.
But that's not really altogether painful either. There's the cider and the other sweet goodies that you can pick up.
And watching other people make them.
Absolutely.
And you would be astounded at what comes out of this workshop. They are just really beautiful. They make swags with them. They do candle decorations and centerpieces for tables. So we'll show you all of these methods to be able to do at the same time, and I'll show you some. Even if you have no ideas or you're not very creative, we're going to have pictures there for you to be able to see how this is done, and it's really fairly easy to do and just a lot of fun to be able to do. But we would recommend that you do make a reservation to let us know for however many of you are going to come. And you can go on our website as well, and that is PembertonHallFoundation.com. Or should it Pemberton Hall?
PembertonHallFoundation.com.
Okay.
If you just Google Pemberton Hall, Salisbury, Maryland, you'll find it.
Yes. So it is something I think you would enjoy for the holiday, and it's a nice way, a great way to get in the mood for Christmas, which is coming up.
Well, you know, Bill, it is a busy season, and we do partner on many things. You mentioned West Side. So if folks miss the opportunity on December 5th, we'll be helping out with West Side, and they likewise with us. So folks might as well think about December 12th when the event is staged once again in a location that Westside Historical Society chooses, and they could call Westside Historical Society to get further details on that. Correct?
And that's very well true. And
Yeah.
but I want to emphasize, this is a way of getting in touch with your family. Bring children with you.
Oh, that's the best part. Watching the
yeah.
mothers and grandmothers and their kids come. That is the best part.
Well, I will tell you that when my wife and I were first married, before we had children, I was making all the wreaths, and when our daughter came along, that was a tradition that we started. And I would go over to my parents who owned several acres of wooded on the water, and we would collect the materials when she's 2 and 3 years old, and she would come back from college to do this and help make them.
Wreaths.
And
Wow.
her grandmother taught her to cook in the
Yeah.
house while my dad and I were out making these wreaths when she was young. And later on, now she's living in Colorado and no trees.
Not the same kind of wreath anyway.
No.
Well, Bill, before we part here today, I know we have something coming up in January too. Can you tell us a little bit about the tradition of Twelfth Night?
Well, we're going to do 12th night, which would be the Thursday prior to, which would be the 7th. We're going to do, of January, we're going to do 12th night, however, on the 10th.
Okay, which is a Sunday?
Which is a Sunday,
Okay.
and we're going to do it from 2 to 4. It's an open house at Pemberton Hall. And actually, we're going to be this year opening one of the bed chambers upstairs for you to see.
For the first time.
Yes.
Wow.
And I've spent very much time doing the research on this and having the bed hangings made. It contains the only in situ built-in tester frame in the United States.
Wow.
And it's original to the house. And we've had the bed curtains rehung, and it's going to tell a story about 2 of the boys from the Handy family, Isaac Handy's grandsons, and what happens with them in life. And it's the year before their father dies in 1787.
I see.
So 1786. It's going to talk about after the Revolution and then what happens to them in life, and it's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
And this bed chamber is going to tell that story. So that will be open for the first time, and again, it's open house. We would love to have you come that day to see Pemberton Hall. Now, as far as 12th night goes, that's when Christmas was really celebrated.
I see.
And it really was. Christmas Day was a very quiet affair, basically here on the Eastern Shore, but generally. English Christmas was a very bawdy affair. It become extremely so, in fact. But Christmas Day here, for example, they might go out and fire their guns from one plantation to another, so you would hear them echoing up and down the river, for example. They might attend a very quiet church service. You certainly did not give gifts. That was not done on Christmas Day. It was a very quiet, peaceful family day, which has something to be said for it, by the way.
Yes.
But on 12th night, that party that was held, where family and friends would come in, they might stay several days, by the way, when they did this. But the 12th night celebration was a really grand affair, and at these large plantations and small plantations as well, and with food and drink, a lot of alcohol, by the way, the tradition of bringing in the 12th night cake, and all that went along with that. So I encourage you to read up on that.
You know, when I was reading about it last year, it really reminded me a little bit of Mardi Gras celebrations.
Yes.
You know, they crown a special guest at the event, and have all their special foods display, and like you say, the special cake that comes out, the 12th night cake.
Well, you got to realize this is actually almost like a harvest festival in some way. This is at the point at which everything had ceased on the plantation as far as rotation of crops and you know, that kind of thing going through. That never ceased completely, but they had the time to be able to do it at this point. And so it became a tradition here in the South, for example, bringing in the Yule log was a portion of it. Here on the Eastern Shore, we really do have very, very, very scant information about how Christmas was celebrated in the 18th century. And it was more religious than it was anything else. And
so, Bill, we have 2 dates to keep in mind, actually 3 dates. December 5th out at Pemberton Park in the education building. We'll hold our wreath making party this year.
By the way, that's known as the Betty Morris building. Okay.
And to get there from downtown Salisbury.
From downtown Salisbury, center of Salisbury, you're going to go out Route 50, going west. You're going to turn on Nanticoke Road.
That's Business 50, right?
Yes. And you're going to turn on Nanticoke Road.
Okay.
And almost immediately onto Pemberton Drive.
Okay.
You're going to turn left. You're going to go about 2.5 miles and you'll see the sign for Pemberton Historical Park. You'll enter through the gates. You'll go up into the parking lot and you'll see the cars and so forth gathered at the education building, and we'll have the doors open and so forth where you'll be able to do it. So please come out. I think you'll really enjoy this, and bring children that are old enough to be able to help you do this, because you can start a tradition that they will carry on, which is what this is about.
And I've been with it long enough now, so I'm beginning to see those same children come back, and every year they're a little taller and a little smarter, and the wreaths become a little more elaborate.
I can't tell you how much fun this is to do, and if you could start this with your family, I think you would find that they would, it's something they would at all ages enjoy, including teenagers, to do.
So, wreath making December 5th right here in Salisbury at Pemberton Hall, and December 12th someplace, a destination to be named with West Side Historical Society. And on January 10th we get together for Twelfth night out at Pemberton. And the most exciting part to me about Twelfth night this year is we finally open the long-awaited bedchamber upstairs. It is absolutely beautiful. You did such a splendid job of the research and all of it, authentic hangings and linens and furnishings there. And then there's a secret in the hallway to be discovered too. So all will be revealed when we get together out at Pemberton Hall this holiday season. Thank you so much, Bill, for the history lesson today, as well as for your long-standing commitment to Pemberton Hall and helping us to organize another outstanding wreath party this year on December 5th.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening today, and thank you to PAC 14, our staunch supporter of so many activities here in Salisbury and the Wicomico area. See you on the 5th.
Would you like to see your community organization or nonprofit group featured on PAC 14? To get started, contact us at 410-677-5014 or visit our website at www.pac14.org. PAC 14 is a great way to connect with your community.